Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. How's everyone doing out there? I wanted to come on today and talk about boundaries. So, the reason I wanted to talk about boundaries is because I don't think we have them. I think everyone is a yes man. I think everyone is too nice. I think not enough people are confident in who they are. So, you tend to overexert yourself. You tend to just say yes to everyone and everything, and then by the end of the day you feel exhausted because you are just kind of like all over the place. You haven't really established value system. You haven't really established who you are, so you're kind of like going like this. You're like in a tornado of like crap, right? So boundaries are super important, and I think a lot of people I didn't even know I was lacking boundaries myself. um, People realize, like, I think a lot of people think that it's okay to just say yes to everything. The problem there is that when you say yes to everything, you are saying no to yourself, right? When you say yes to everything, you lack self confidence and self esteem, because it's almost like that the idea of like keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like you think that by saying yes to everything, like you are missing out on an opportunity, or it comes. I think it comes from a place of lack. It comes from a place of um, not being secure in who you are, where you're at in life, and you haven't done any inner work on yourself to have boundaries and to know just what you stand for, your values, your morals. And that can present itself by the end of the day of feeling completely exhausted. I talk to people every day. I see clients every day. And sometimes when I feel tired, I'm like, why am I so tired? And then I realize it's because I gave up part of who I was, or I put somebody up on a pedestal, or I put somebody else's needs before my own. And granted, like I'm in natural health, and I'm in that space of wanting to help people and to coach them on a mental level and on a physical, emotional, spiritual level. However, when you are overexerting, you will feel exhausted by the end of the day. And I think a lot of people just lack being okay with who they are, because they're afraid that if they don't stay in who they are, that someone won't like them. And if there's a bit of advice that I can give to you, it's that it doesn't matter who likes you. The right people will like you, and the right people will stay with you. And those that don't, they weren't meant for you, right? That's a boundary, right? I don't think people realize that when you just want everyone to like you, that you don't have you are lacking a self-esteem and self-confidence, and therefore your boundary goes down the toilet, right? So the more you can establish who you are, being okay with who you are, um, the better you will feel. I know a lot of people who kind of reset their boundary on a daily basis, and that makes you kind of feel like you're going down a drain, right? Like you're kind of like grasping at straws, and just again, you're kind of just saying yes to everything because you're not secure enough and grounded enough to just say no, right? To just go, okay, I can't do everything, and I'm okay with that, and just being firm in, like, let's say for example, because family is always a big problem for a lot of people, right? Saying to someone, I'm actually not coming to the family get together this weekend, or I can't make it, or something. And then what happens is that they guilt you. But that's not your crap. That's their crap, because they have no self esteem to also say no, or to, whatever. So um, being able to say no is actually one of the more powerful words that I think, because you start to just go, I don't want to do that. Or you start to go, yeah, that doesn't really match with what I'm trying to do in my life right now. People also judge themselves because, let's say, for like 3 months, you're just like, I want to be at home. I want to not deal with people, not in a negative way. You just don't want to deal with it, right? You need to kind of do some self reflection and be okay with that self reflection. I think too many times do people just let other people dictate to them, right? Like what they should be doing, right? Let's say, for example, you are valuing sleep and rest in your life, right? Because your body has released toxins, both emotional, physical, all these things, right? And your body is just like, I need to sleep. And you're valuing sleep. And you are putting the boundary up of when I'm at work. And then when I'm home, I'm just going to rest and take care of myself. And I'm going to sleep, go to bed early and all those things, right? You are setting a boundary of, this is how I'm going to build myself up, is by resting and by healing, right? If every time someone says you're being lazy, but in your heart, I'm not actually being lazy. I'm healing, and that's okay. I think, again, people are so ashamed, or they take on someone else's shit because they are ashamed or afraid to just say, actually, no, that's not what's happening here. I'm actually giving myself the love that I've needed for 34 years, as opposed to giving it all to you, right? And I believe that this is not like one generation or another. This is like, collectively as a society, we have deemed like getting after it and pounding the pavement and always producing all the time. Like, and I'm all about producing, I'm all about working, I'm all about that, so don't get me wrong. But I do think there is a time and a place for, and not even a time and place. I truly think that because so many people are not confident in themselves, they are just constantly giving. Everything is external, and the reason you do external is because you need the external validation from other people, as opposed to validating yourself and validating where you're at in life, right? And I can say I did the same thing, so I can say completely, I was giving all of my energy away to all the wrong people, trying to like get people to like me, but wasn't like, I didn't even like give myself the chance to go, do I like myself? Do I like where I'm at? And it finally hit me maybe like 3 weeks ago that I was like, I didn't really like where I was, right? Like, I was kind of like, I really need to heal. I really need to like enjoy where I'm at in my life right now, because I have no boundaries. Like, I noticed that I had a lack of boundaries, and that came from a lack of self-confidence of, who am I, right? What do I stand for? What do I deem important, right? I also noticed that I was just like pouring out energy to everyone, so that by the end of the day, I was just exhausted, right? And don't get me wrong, in business, like, you're always doing stuff, you're always giving to people, and that's fine. Like, that's a service, right? You're giving your energy to other people. But there's a way, and I feel like it's just like, how much are you giving out, right? I think that you can be generous, but still keep your energy to yourself. You can be generous, but also not care. I don't want to say not care, but like not care what people think of you, right? I've seen in my own life that when I'm just secure in me, I don't really care what people think, right? When I'm secure in who I am, I don't really care if someone doesn't like me, because I like me, right? So, and that's a boundary, right? You are staying firm in that place. And I think and believe that the more you practice and write down, right? I write down on like anything. I'll write down on Post-it notes. I'll write it down on anything. Like, who am I? What do I stand for in my life? Like, how much money do I want to generate in a month, in a year, right? Like, all those things that are important to me. Some people are like, oh, I want to be a millionaire in a year or two. And I'm like, okay, like, that's fine. If you value that and that's what you want to put all that energy, that's a lot of energy that you have to put out to make that, right? And to do all that. And that's fine if you want to do that, right? What kind of person do I want in my life? And therefore, how do I need to be in my own life to bring that person in? And a lot of times it's just like, you need to let go of all these like preconceived notions that other people have put onto you. Like, Matt, you need to find someone super fit, super this and super that, blah, blah, blah. Do I value that? Right? Or do I value someone being authentic? Is that more important to me than how someone looks? I feel like I want someone that takes care of themselves, but I also want somebody that's vulnerable, that's open, that's secure in themselves and has passions in life, right? I think because of like all these, and again, this is a boundary for me, is like I noticed that like I don't want to find someone or I don't want to find someone on like a dating app because it's very impersonal to me. It doesn't make me passionate. It doesn't fill me up because I realized that I was just judging someone based off of their look, and that's not fair. And because they are also basing me off, judging me off of my look, and while looks are important, it's not everything. It's like 5% maybe in my opinion, maybe 10 of everything else, right? There's so many factors to all of this, right? But it was like I realized that like a big boundary for me, and where I like ground myself in my own confidence, is I want somebody that wants to talk to me. I want somebody that has an interest in what I do, and therefore I have an interest in what they do, and they're just confident in themselves. I want someone who is in their own world and is like rocked and rooted into that, right? And but I don't think we do enough of that self work. We don't do enough of like, what do we want? What do I want? Right. And it's not selfish to know what you want. It's actually freeing because then you go, yeah, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that you shut down the second something gets deep. I don't like that you can't be vulnerable. I don't like that. And again, those are a direct reflection, right? Can you be vulnerable? Are you afraid of vulnerability? Are you afraid of creating boundaries? Are you afraid of all that? Because if you're afraid of that, you're not going to find somebody else that is that. You're going to find someone that is extremely closed off, right? So having connection is, I think we're missing that in life. And I think that's why so many people are lonely as hell, right? Because they haven't done any work on themselves. They are terrified to admit who they are. They are terrified to say what they want. They are terrified to maybe be different. And when I say different, I mean everyone's going with the pack, right? We're all kind of going with this majority of people, as opposed to like, that's actually not who I am, right? So it's really tough because I feel like, and I'm just going to say this because I think it's just needed, is that in like the LGBT world, and I don't really talk about this too often just because it's not important to me, but I see it, right? In the LGBT world, I truly believe that so many gay people who are alone and lonely and depressed and all this other stuff, y'all aren't doing the work. Y'all are just trying to, you're seeking external validation. And I can attest to this. I'm sure some of my other friends who are in agreement with me can attest to this. You're seeking external validation because you haven't done any work on yourself. You don't even know where your own confidence is. You don't know where your own self-worth is, and you aren't validating your own shit, right? Because you're like, kind of because you're trying to like have someone complete you, or you're trying to have somebody else externally validate you, and you don't need that, right? Like, if you're cool with yourself, someone else is gonna be like, whoa, whoever, I'm really attracted to that energy because they're probably in that energy too, right? So my friends in that community realize that like, if you're truly still, if you're like that alone and that sad and that depressed and that anxious, start doing the work on yourself, right? And this isn't just gay people, this is everybody, right? Everybody wants a relationship, and I do too. Everybody wants all this stuff, but the reality is you need to do the work on you, right? Typically, the reason why you're not finding that, because I can attest to it, the reason why you're not finding it is because you haven't done any work on yourself. You just want people to kind of distract you from doing your work, right? And again, I'm like a go hard to, distract myself. That was my story, was like, I'm just going to do all this big shit so that people will notice me, and once they notice me, then I'm going to have validation. Fuck no, right? Hell no. You need to just stop distracting yourself from the social media, from all the bullshit in the world. Everything is a distraction to make you not want to do any work on you. All of it is a distraction to procrastinate on self-work and doing, and dealing with your own trauma and your own shit, right? No one can do that work but you. So while I get fired up about it, it's also because I experienced that when I was in that LGBT shit, right? Like, I'm sorry to say it, but like, when I was in that, it was depressing because I was around all these people who didn't know who they were. They were terrified to be themselves. And I mean, y'all, and this is where I'm gonna be like, y'all really think that you're like hot shit. Y'all really think that like you've got it all figured out, and you don't. You just don't. Because no one hates, no one's that exclusive and that disrespectful to other people when you don't even know who you are. So in reality, you're grasping at straws and you're being a jerk because you don't have boundaries in your own life. You don't even know what you stand for because you haven't taken the time to stand for it. And the reason why I can say that is because I used to do it. I used to be such an asshole. Sorry for the language, but I used to be such an asshole because I didn't know what I wanted. I was all over the place, waiting for someone to validate me. I had no clue who I was, right? And then when I stepped out of that world, I was like, holy crap, like I don't even agree with half this shit, right? Holy crap, like this is, I don't even, like I see the loneliness, I see the depression, and it's because people are so afraid of connecting. They're so afraid of just owning who they are and being okay with that. So many people are like, oh yeah, this is who I am, but is it? Is that who you are? And that's just a genuine question. Like, are you who you say you are, or do you actually like not believe in that, right? Yes, intellectual connection is so fun. It's true. Like we're all, again, it comes from this world, this like thought of you need to, everything is just about the physical. Everything is about wanting to be intimate and wanting to not be alone and blah blah blah. But like at the end of the day, you need to do work. You need to do the work on yourself. You have to start creating boundaries for yourself because it's crucial, right? When you start knowing who you are, you'll be so confident and somebody will go, whoa, that confidence is contagious. But this is where you have to be careful, because I've done it, is that you get really confident and you're really in your zone and in your lane, right? And then somebody comes in, and what do? You put them on a pedestal, or you put them on a plate in a place where you're like worshiping them, and you need to not do that. You need to be so secure in yourself that you go, I am who I am, you are who you are, and I would love to create whatever this is. But a lot of people, it's like putting money on a pedestal. When you put money on a pedestal, you want more and more and more of it, and then your whole energy is about, and your whole life becomes about money. Be you, right? Be yourself. Own yourself. Own your boundaries. Own your confidence. Own whatever your passion is, and be okay with that. And don't deter from it because somebody else is like, you're waiting for somebody to validate you. Stop waiting for validation. This is the problem with Facebook and Instagram, is that you're waiting for people to validate you. You're like, let's say this, right? You put this message out and you think, oh, 10 people didn't like it, or I didn't get a client from it, or I didn't whatever. So therefore I'm not validated because my messaging is off, or because what I think people want to hear they're not listening to it. Guys, if you believe in what you're putting out there, be confident in it and stop waiting for people to validate it, right? Stop waiting around for other people's validation. Be yourself. Own who you are, right? You don't like, I can tell you right now, I don't like eating sugar. Why? Because it makes me feel like shit, right? It just makes me feel like crap. And I feel like depressed for 2 or 3 days after, because I'm like, my body is like, ugh, it just feels horrible. I have created a boundary where I go, I don't really care if people don't like that I don't eat sugar with them, or if I don't drink a ton of alcohol around them, because I know who I am, right? I know what makes me feel good. And I'm not judging how you live your life. We all have free will, right? We all have free will. But when you start to own who you are and where you're at, you start to not care if you're doing whatever you're doing, right? And like, even when I coach someone, like, and they ask me what my opinion is on what they're doing, it's like, I'll tell you what my opinion is, but that doesn't mean you have to follow it, right? Y'all have free will. But don't be mad when things don't change in your life because you're not listening to anything, right? You're just like, I don't care, right? Well, when you don't care because you think you know it all, right? You're lacking self-confidence because you think I can figure it out, right? So my whole point in saying all this is, when you start to do the work on yourself, when you start to own who you are, when you start to be very secure in who you are, no matter who comes in, what comes in, finances that come in, you are so secure in, yeah, this is me and I feel really good about it. Guess what's going to happen? Abundance is going to start shifting in your life because you're no longer being attached to all these things. You're in your own boundaries. You're in your own world. You're in who you know and what makes you feel good. And you can sit at home for all night long reading a book because you're so confident in just like what you're reading and what you're doing that you're like, I'm good. Hey, Bruno. You're the man, Bruno. Love you, Ben. When you are just so secure in that, you won't find the need to cling on to other people's opinions of you and shit, right? But the second you let go of that, you will feel lost. You will feel depleted. You'll sit on your couch and you'll go, I am exhausted. And the reason why you're exhausted, my friend, is not anybody but you. It's all on you. I made a thing yesterday or a couple of days ago, about you're your own magic pill, and I meant it because people don't realize just how much power they have over themselves, and you're giving it up constantly, right? You have no boundary, you have no self-esteem, and you have no self-confidence, and you just need to own that. You need to own that you don't have it. And if you do have it, great. I'm happy for you, right? But when you have confidence, let me tell you something right now. When you have confidence and when you're secure in that, you don't need external validation. So if you're still posting on Facebook waiting for someone to like you, or you're still waiting for the views and this and that, guess what? You're waiting for external validation. You're waiting for people to see you. You're waiting to be seen. I don't care if truly, it's like, okay, cool. My whole impact here is if I can help you, awesome. But the second that you go, no one see me, it's just victim. Like, stop being a victim about it, right? Own it. Own that you like to be alone. Own that you're in a place right now where you don't even want to be in a relationship. Own that you want a certain kind of client. Own that and be okay with owning that, right? Okay. That's all I have to say. And I hope you guys have a great day. Create boundaries, be confident in those boundaries, and do not allow anybody else to tell you what's right for you and what's wrong for you. Okay? Peace.